So what are dictionaries? Dictionaries is the most common data structure across all languages. In some languages, we call it as with different names. It is called as like a markdown, sorry, hash map in other languages. In some languages, we call it as a hash map. In some languages, we call it as a map, or with different names, we call it as. So overall, like dictionaries were suitable whenever we have like more amount of reads. So sometimes these data structures are used for different purposes, I told. If you just want to store the elements, and every time it should be like easy for you to add or remove, and order is also needed, that's where list is suitable. And you want the order, but you don't remove. So very occasionally, only once when you create, you want everything to be immutable, you go over a tuple. But if you are not interested in order, you want only unique values, so that's where you go with a set. But dictionary, so whenever like you have more reads, so then like we can use it. So first, coming to the dictionary, how do you create an empty dictionary? This is the most important thing. As I told in the previous way, here also I'm repeating the same thing. If you have an empty dictionary, you can create with a flower braces or with a dictionary built-in function. But hope you remember, we did the same thing with the empty set also. When you have an empty set, I told that empty set cannot be represented using flower braces, right? Empty set we need to define like this only. That's what I told, the difference between them. Now, if you have the same sets with some values, so when a set is there with values and a dictionary is there with values, you notice the difference? For set, we have comma separated values. If I say something like, 45, 56, something, just comma separated. Whereas for a dictionary, we need to have values colon separated and comma separated, both. And if I observe, did you understand the difference between set and dictionary? So, and similarly, dictionaries also don't have any problem when you have a single value or a single pair in this case. Only for tuple, when you have a single element, you need to have a comma at the end. But for no other data structure, no problem. For say a dictionary is there with a single pair, no comma at the end, nothing will happen. It will tell what is it. And if you ask length, it says it's of length 1. Oh, one pair, it says 1. So for each pair, it says 1 length, like that. It will take. So extra what you need to understand is that from Python 3.6 onwards, dictionaries are retaining the order in which we give the values. This is the most important point. Means, so unlike a set which don't have an order, means you give in one way but it will store in another way on its own way, right? You're not bothered about it. Whereas a dictionary, say if I go for my dict, I give like A for so 1, say C for 2, I give in a specific order of mine, and D for say 3, and B for like 4 if I give. I'm not saying ascending or descending, but this is my order in which I give. If you see the output also, it will be exactly in the order in which we gave. So I'm saying that it's not ascending or descending. The order in which we give will be preferred. So that will be preserved. In earlier older versions, we used to go for something called as order dict module for the same when the order is needed. But now it's not needed anymore. So whatever it give, it will preserve that order. So if you try any versions before 3.6, you will see that similar to how a dictionary set is working, you don't have the order. Similarly, I created one more thing. You see here, whatever the order I give, the same order I'm getting, right? If you want the order to be retained in earlier versions of Python, say in Python, say less than 3.6, anything if you want to work. So there is a module called as order dict, which we need to work with it. But of course, now it is no more needed. because so everything we can do in the other way, right? Next, with a thing, so it's not just like a small dictionaries. We can go for something more complicated also. Means I can define the key values, right? I can go in multiple lines also. Say if I say name is like say Uday, the same key value instead of in one line, I'm writing in multiple lines. If I say personal details, okay, sorry. If I say person details, I got it. Not just one, I can add like multiple things. Say age I have, age equal to some 99. So salary is equal to some big number. So and if I do like this, I can add any number of values. It doesn't matter. And you see, in the process of you giving, whenever say you are repeating some key, name, same name is say Prakash, if I give, did you observe that 4 are coming? So all Python is case sensitive. So keys are also case sensitive. Hope you remember what I'm trying to say. This name and this name are different, right? You know. So whereas if I try the same thing with same thing, with the same case, if I say means like duplicate, right? So duplicate, so key means for the same key you give a different value. So in that case, what will happen? So Python is case sensitive again. It will overwrite when duplicate key is there, right? So latest value will overwrite. There is a correct way of doing. So the latest value will overwrite. If you do these three times or 4 times also, whatever is the latest value, it will take the same thing. Say if I say on the same name, if I have say Python, okay, on the same name if I have Gudo one, so if you see now, I get Gudo because that's the latest one, right? Of course, there are new languages like Go language which don't even allow these many in definition, but Python allows when you're creating itself. So if you have any duplicates, we can do like this. And in the same fashion, not only this, so when you're creating these details, I can go with any of the ways. Means there is one rule. So key should be immutable. Should be immutable. So no limit on values. So this is one more rule we need to follow. Means whatever you are defining, the key should be like this. See what are the personal details or what are you printing. I can take the same thing again and print it. But fine, see here. So here every time I'm saying key is equal to string, right? Till now. Values I'm taking in different data types. Whatever I want. I can take a dictionary also, set also I create, sorry, list also I created, tuple also I created, fine. So till now I have a good dictionary. If I go further and if I add like different kinds of data structures, say like I want to add something like this, see here. After them, see here, I have a key which is an integer. It's immutable. Negative float, it is immutable. Tuple, which is immutable. None, which is immutable. So whereas if I have it, so say a list which was converted to tuple, that is also immutable. But if I take like a list which is mutable, right, it will throw in error. What is saying? Unhashable type list. We cannot store a list element into that. But if I take that element out and if I comment that one, okay, if I comment that, it will do it. So there is no limit on the values. There is only limit on the keys. And the key should be immutable. Hope everyone understood this. Any doubt till now? So fine. So, okay, you finally created one dictionary. If you are getting values, you will get like this. Just imagine like this. Let's say there is a 3 or 4 lines big thing. then it would be difficult for you to read, right? So that's the reason when you're working in Jupyter Notebook, it is interesting. So without print also we can print, right, in Jupyter Notebook. So means here. So Jupyter has this kind of good thing where it will show in a better way for us so that you can better visualize. Because mostly this is like dictionary, right? When you work with any REST APIs, so you will get like big payloads. That is also like a dictionary only when you're coming. So I will tell difference between them afterwards, but fine. So in a Jupyter Notebook, it will show better way. But if you are in an ordinary Python script, it will not show this much. Then it would be a problem for you. So for that case, there is a module called as, so from pprint. So till now you're using any module, right? It's like a selective import. This module, let's say one module is having 10 kinds of functions. You want only found one function. So that's where you use like this one. So there is a module called as pprint. From that you want only pprint. So this is how you do a selective import. So the what are the print you are doing? The same thing you pass to it. See, did you observe? So it is doing something interesting. Similar to this, it is doing. But did you see that this pprint, it is doing something interesting. It is ordering the key values based upon the key. Based upon the keys, it is ordering. Whereas if you want exactly like what you have given, you want to see, especially when you're going with the things, it will be useful. There is one more thing called as pp. Like a pprint, there is one more thing called as pp. So if I use pp from pprint and print anything, or else just using a Jupyter Notebook, did you see you got the same result? Now you understood that this Jupyter Notebook or IPython is using pprint.pp in the backend to get anything. Is it clear? So this is for, so with now we understood how to create a dictionary. What should be the key values? What if you have a duplicate key? And what are the rules on the keys? So why we should have only immutables as keys? Values we can have anything, and how we want to see them, how to print them. After getting these things, next, so with ppre, we can also have like custom options. Like we can use some kind of indentation. If I say indentation, means did you see? Compared to this, you got some kind of indentation in the starting, right? Similarly, if you want to know more functionality about this pp, so in only Jupyter Notebook, you can do something called as question mark. And if you print, if I do question mark and print, it will give what is the attributes of it and how we can do. So we can say like sort dictionary. These are all attributes to it. If you say sort dictionary and all this thing, if you pass, it will work on it. So it is showing like, what are the PP you are using. That is again a Python script which was stored in this location, right? So fine. So any module, not only this, if you want to get the help, either you can use help built-in function, or if you are within the Jupyter Notebook, you can use a question mark at the end. So now fine. Next, going for the dictionary operations. So what are the dictionary operations? How we can go with them? So going further, if I come back again with a dictionary, hope I told you this already. If you have the same key repeated, what are the latest value? You get the same thing, right? That's what I told. Now we understood how Jupyter Notebook is printing. So the same thing in a better way. For small values, it will do in a single line. Once values are more, then it will use the pprint.pp. That's the reason you'll get the values in that way. Hope it's fine. Now you understood. Now, if you have a dictionary and if you want only the keys from a dictionary, so then we can use dot keys. If I use dot keys, I get only the keys from the dictionary. Similarly, if I want only values, I can use like dictionary dot values. Similarly, if I want both keys and values, like a pair, that's where I can go for, so items. If I go items, so in fact, it's like a dictionary items. In Python 2, these three will give you a list only. In Python 3, it's not a pure list which is giving like an output. We call it as a dictionary type elements like that. So if you see like any of them, the results, if I take like the type of them, you can see type of say person details dot items. Use a brace. Did you see it is of type dictionary items? It's not a list, right? Purely. In Python 2, these three will give lists actually. So what is this dictionary type means, sir? These are like custom types. So you will see right now from everything, you will see like this. But they are also like a iterators only. You can do for loop on them. You can get each value and you can work on them. And I will come for the for loops right now. Till now, we have done for loops, right? So for loop, we have applied on a list set individual elements. Say if I have a list of elements, right? So each val, so for each in, say I have a list of elements, say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 if I have, say if I print off each, okay, I got the values. Sorry, if I print each, I got the values, right? You see, one value at a time, I got it. Similarly, maybe like I want all in a one line, such that I don't want to say. So, so what is that? End is equal to if I give something like this, you can see everything coming the same line. In the same fashion, if I take an empty print and then print like a tuple, same like a list, if you use a tuple, then what happens? In a tuple also, you get the values like this. See, tuple also will give each value at a time, right? You got it. Similarly, I go for a dictionary also. This time you see, and a set also. If I go for a set means what? I store the values in a flower braces and I get the values, right? And similarly, dictionary means what? We should have like a key value. Say 1 colon 2, so 3 colon 4, 5 colon 6, say 7 colon 8, something like that you have. Okay. In four things, if I ask, you can notice the differences. Did you see? So this is more interesting. I will tell you shortly. Let's see, focus on these three first. When you do a for loop on them, so in three, it is working like the same way. But the third one is like set. So order, we cannot expect the same every time, right? So unordered, right? Except that order, everything will be same, but you get individual values. Whereas for a dictionary, if you see, this is very interesting. Each time when you're asking, say I don't have like new line, each time I want to print. Did you see what's happening? By default, when you're printing, you are not getting all the values. You are getting 1, 3, 5, 7. Did you see? What is this? So it is same like getting those keys. If you observe carefully, if I do a dictionary or dictionary dot keys, it will do the same thing. Means I can define a dictionary outside and ask dot keys or directly. So this is what is interesting. For anything object, when you're looping, so you get like keys and values. But for dictionaries, by default, when you're looping, it will give only the keys. So that's the most important point you need to be aware of dictionaries. So what if I want the keys and the values both together? Say coming back to our things are there also we can do. Like if I go here, if I want both keys and values together, so I can say I have values, only values if I want, I can ask. Or like both keys and values if I ask, I can say like dot items. See, each time I got a key value, both. The same thing we can do for our dictionary, which we are working right now. So for this dictionary also, if I ask, iterating over it. So as I told, either you iterate like this or we iterate with a dictionary. So dot keys, both will work in the same fashion. You see, both will work in the same fashion. But if you want like specifically values or specifically like, items, so we should specify them. So if you specify them, you will get like dot keys and dot values or dot items. And the interesting point with this values is that Hope you remember there is something called as tuple unpacking. Means each time when this each variable is having two values at a time. Hope you remember. So then if something is getting two values at one shot, we can do an unpacking. Means what we can do, so instead of assigning each, I'm assigning to each key and each value. Like that, if I am assigning to two variables, you can see the output also. So like that, we can make use of a dictionaries. Hope it's clear. So let me go for like further more dictionary operations. Let me define one more dictionary, which is a real practical usage. Let's say I have a employee. Our name is Saurav Ganguly. Status is something. Salary is, strike rate is something. So after that, if I ask, hey, what is employees? Did you see when I gave key values? Hope you remember a number I told when you have a large number, for better readability, we can add underscores. Within the number, if you add underscores also, it will ignore and take like single thing. And similarly, if you give a expression, it will store the end result. That is fine. Okay, till now we have done all operations, how to create and all these things. First thing, how do you index a value? In a list, a tuple, you can index based upon position. Set, I told it's not indexable at all. Then about dictionaries, it is indexable, but we cannot tell like, employees of 0 or 1. If I say employee 1, it will throw an error. What it is thinking, it is expecting a key called as a 1 should be there, and it is thinking its value. But as there is nothing like that, it is throwing an error. So if I do like, if you want any value within the same braces, we should give the key, because indexing is with the keys. If you ask, you will get it. Hope you understood. So from the dictionary, if you want anything, you should give the key like this. Within the index, you get the value. What if you are trying to get something which is not present? So you remember when you have a list, if you are asking something which is out of bounds, it will throw an index error, right? In the same fashion, if you are asking something which is not present, it will throw in the key error. For list and tuple, it is index error. Here it is so key error. That's the reason we can capture with a key error exception. In this, we didn't define it, right? Next. So I say like dictionaries are mutable again. So list is a mutable. So set is a mutable. And now dictionaries are mutable. This is the third mutable object that we are discussing. What do you mean by mutable? Anything which supports changes on itself. So in place changes means like the address location should not change, but the value within it should change, right? So first I will take the address location of it. Then if you want to update a value also, we should do in the same way. So if you want to create a new key also in the same way, updating also same way. Referencing is also same way. So here we have name, status, salary, strike rate. But we don't have a key called as a join. So status. So status is what till now we have like retired Saurav Ganguly. Say that Saurav Ganguly was rejoined again. So I updated the value. So once I updated the value, I can check what is the new value and I can get it. I can check like what is the new value of employee status. I can get it and ID of it. You see, the address location is not changed, but so value is changed. If you want to check the entire employee, uh, you see now. So all dictionaries as it is, only one key was updated, right? This is how you update an existing key. In the same fashion, if you want to add a new key also, we should follow the same logic. You added a new key, and if you ask, hey, what is employees? Did you see that? So the new key which you have added is present at the end. Did you see? So that's what I'm trying to say. So Python 3.6 onwards, it will preserve the order in which you gave the values. So now we need to understand how do you index a value means, or index a dictionary means. There are three ways. So we have seen till now. One, using dictionary.key, which we have seen just now. So, but dictionary.key has a one problem. If the key which you are trying to present is ask is present, if it gives a value. If it is not present, it will throw a key error. That's why we need to have a try exception. Every day having try exception is not a good, interesting thing, right? Rather, we can do an if condition. If something is present, give it. So because every try exception will have an extra code, which is not that comfortable. So for that, we have two things called as dictionary.get and dictionary.setDefault. What are these two doing extra, which the others can't do? Let's see. You see, till now I told you about the key dot get. Let's say strike rate I'm saying, as it is present, you will get it. Whereas if I say number of catches, there is no number of catches, number of centuries is there. So that's the reason if I ask number of catches, it will throw a key error. That is a problem with this dictionary.key. Then how do you solve this problem? Say the same previous things I will ask again, but in a different way. In this way, time when I'm asking, I will ask like this. So instead of just dictionary dot in square braces of values, I do a dot get. What is the beauty of this get is that, so by default, whenever you are asking something, so it will give if it is having the value as it is. If it don't have a value, it will give a none. See, if it don't have a value, it will give none. It will not throw in any error. So don't you think this is better? You can check the result value is equal to none means it don't have. Rather, sometimes if you want some default value, something is not present, if you want a default value, you can use the second value for that. In this case, see here. So whenever you're doing the get, if that particular key is not present, you're getting the default value, right? So that is how it works. Now, based upon these things, you can understand that. So after this, doing all these things, if you ask again, hey, what is the employees? Did you notice that the number of catches is nowhere present in this dictionary? Means every time it is checking, hey, do you have this key called as number of catches? So as it is not having, so it will give the default value. But your original dictionary is not changed. Whereas if I go for another thing, plus set default. In a case of a set default, I'll show you what will happen. If I go for like set default is also similar like your get only. But the difference is that it also, if you don't have, it will give the default value, which is none. If you don't write, it will give none. As said, strike rate is already present. So it is not having any problem. It will give as it is. Whereas employees.set default of number of catches. Number of catches is not there, right? Then it will give the default, which is none. You don't give anything. So the difference between get and set default is that when a particular key, when you're asking, if it is not present, first it will create a key with that value. Did you see that? Number of catches it created with a value of none. As none is not present, it created that and asked. Now again, say if I'm again adding it, something like this, say here, I'm adding, say like this, say employee of like this, if I'm asking, give me like this, means employees dot set default of number of catches of 235. Now set default, if it is key is present, it will give its value and it will not create a new one if it is present. As it is created already above, here it is already there. Instead of giving like 234, it will give none because that key is already present. Everyone understood this point. So if I take like a new key which is not present and then use set default, this time it will create this key with the default value which you give, and at the same time it will update the dictionary also. You see, first it gave the key, what are the default value it will give. At the same time it will create a dictionary key in the backend and you get it. So hope it's clear. So and one last 2 points about this is about the in operations. So, till now that like I'm doing set default or something, check, right? If something is present, you just want, else you want a default value, get. If you want to create a dictionary and give that value, that is set default. And what if, sir, I want to just check if it is present, only then I want to do an operation. If you want to do the check operation, that is where you use in operator, right? Either underscore contains or in operator we use. So in both the cases, I am checking, hey, do you have something called as number of catches? If you have number of catches, then it will say true. And similarly, if I have, do you have number of wickets? It says false. Means now what I can do simply in another way, if number of catches are present, then give the values. If not, no such key. No one will do this kind of dumb thing, but stay in some cases, if you want to do like this also, we can use. Okay, so we learned some good things now. Now I will make use of the practical example of it. Then I will go back to again. So the most asked interview question is about the test frequency. So real-time example. If I say like, so if I have a sentence, Python is a wonderful language. We solve a lot of problems here and all these things. This is a sentence. I want to check how many times each character is present. That I want to check. I want to get a count of how many times P came, how many times Q came, like that. So character frequency analysis. In that case, what I go with like each character in sentence. I go do like first print. In when I'm starting my career, whenever I don't know what to do, first used to print everything to understand. So I understood that each one is a key. What is my intention? I want to create a dictionary where key should be the character and value should be how many times it came. Say like I want to say like char frequency. Char frequency is my dictionary. So each time I want to say like char frequency of each character. Say each character is equal to 1. I want to do. So then like if I want to print say char frequency if I want to print, you can notice that each time it is giving all the values with a key and a value. You are getting every time the value is 1 because like you printed like that equal to 1. So you want the existing value plus 1, right? That's what you are expecting. So what I can do, existing value plus 1 I want to do. When I did an existing value plus 1, I got an error because it don't have an existing value already. For the very first time, it don't have a value, right? So then what is the solution? Instead of doing like this, what we can do a dot get. So this is where you don't get a key error now. Earlier you got a key error, right? For the first time when you did. So you did a key error. So to avoid the key error, I did a dot get. This is fine. But when I did a dot get, what is saying? You cannot add none type and integer. Why none type came? Because get will give by default none, right? So if you don't want that, you can give a specific value of 0. That is what you expect, right? If I give a 0 now, it will add. So don't you see now at the end you got a dictionary with all the keys and values? Each time you got, right? Similarly, say like, so the same thing if you want to do in a better way, how we can do? I will solve the same problem in different ways. So you solved in this way. So the same thing I can do in another way. Instead of doing a get every time and updating, so don't you think that I can use a set default? Whatever you did the get right now, I do a set default. Means first I do a set default of 0 plus 1. I'm saying set default of plus 1. So the beauty is that you can just need not do like this. Okay, if you do set default is also like creating a dictionary with that value and getting, right? You see, you get it. And the beauty of set default is that whenever you're doing this operation, instead of doing like this, you can take it and do it outside. means you do like this, and the same operation you do in multiple lines. Means instead of like this, I can do straight away like this, right? Because if it is not there, it will creating the key and the value. Now it became much easy for me. So as it is much more easy, one more addition operation in left hand side, right hand side, I have the same thing. I can do a plus equal to. So this is also another way of doing. Similarly, this operation you are doing for character wise. That's why you're getting like this. What if you want to not bother about the case sensitivity? Whether you get a small case or lower case or higher case, capital case, you want to treat in the same way. See, capital P and small p are two separate. If you want to treat them uniquely, then what you can do? So you can take one of them as a use case and do it like, say each character is equal to each character dot lower. You can take one of the case among them and you do it operation. You will get only lowercase or something. And if you want to check, like you want to do only for characters, you don't want to do for others. So I told you, remember? So I told like if each character does is alpha. Hope you remember this one called as is alpha. So like this, we can add more conditions. If it is alphabet, only then I want to get. If it is any other characters apart from alphabets, I don't want. So don't you see, I'm maturing the things. And in the same fashion, so an assignment for you. Assignment is like, so do word frequency analysis. Word frequency means the same thing you need to do, but first you need to split by words and then do the operation. So both using case sensitivity or without case sensitivity. Case sensitive and unsensitive. So both ways you need to do. Hope you understood. I showed you a real example of how to do the things. So after doing further, so going back. So now we understood about character frequency, how things are working, and fine. So now we understood all these kinds of ways. One more last thing that you have is about, so let's say you have some dictionary and you want to create a replica. So there is something called as a replica if you're gonna create. So that's where you can go with, say, I have a dictionary called as an animal. And from this dictionary, if I just want to get the dictionary from another dictionary, I want to create from it, I can create something like this. If I use from keys, I will exactly create the same dictionary, means keys will be same, but values will be none. So same like what you have seen till now, we can specify like what should be the default values. Means when you have a template dictionary, from that if you want to create a dictionary with some values defaultly, you can give. See, the third case I made default as a string, I got like this. So like that